This took place when I was 13. No one in my family will acknowledge it happened. The only ones who would cave to my great-grandpa have unfortunately passed away. No one will give me the time of day about it. My family has a cabin in Cook's Forest, Clarion, PA. The cabin was built by my great-granddad and has expanded a bit over the years, but has a nice little nook at the bottom of a long dirt road off the main road and down a hill. There are a few other properties around, but most are up and off on the dirt road. Only one is down the hill and only halfway at that. It's not modern by any means. No internet, cell service. The TV still has dials you have to twist to get to watch a DVD. It's very rustic and I love it. The property halfway down the hill is visible from any part at the front of our cabin, which is where the kitchen, window, parking porch, and fire pit are. For as long as anyone can remember, it's been this abandoned lot that had what was once a cabin with a concrete basement. The cabin was built on a hill, so half the basement stuck out from the hill, but the remaining part was crumbling. It also was at the fork where we would ride our ATVs to get back to the fire break. So even though it could have been creepy, it was a very common and familiar sight. Until one Memorial Day, which was when we opened the cabin after the winter, and a large part of our family would go to the cabin for the long weekend to spend time together. Everyone would usually get there through the early evening and then all come together for my great-granddad's dinosaur pancakes for breakfast, the highlight of my single-digit to preteen years. So I wake up expecting to smell pancakes and hear chatter from the older members of my family down in the kitchen, but nothing. I assume I've gotten up too early and go downstairs to use the bathroom and then go back to sleep. Looking back, the whole upstairs was just mattresses with an aisle between them. I should have noticed that most beds were empty. I get downstairs and see all of the adults outside, and I go out to say good morning and demand my T-Rex pancakes. I walk out and see all my family, adults, in a kind of semicircle facing an older man and a woman. I don't recognize them. I assume this is some adult situation, so I go back inside to wake up my cousins, but not before looking at the clock on the microwave and seeing it's about 3 p.m. Now, I loved the cabin. I doodled the cabin itself, four-wheelers, and the area around it for months. Leading up to Memorial Day weekend, I was usually up at the after-crack of dawn because I was so damn excited to be there. Sleeping until 3 p.m. was not in any way normal. I wake my cousins, and by the time they all mosey downstairs, the adults are all back inside. Everyone is pretty silent, but then great-grandpa fires up the stove and gets us kids excited for dino pancakes, so all seems normal. I was there with one of my aunts and my uncle. No parents, and my aunt is pretty close in age to me and was for sure the cool aunt. So when I saw her pale as a sheet, I went to ask what's wrong. She took me outside and pointed at the aforementioned abandoned and crumbling property. In its place was a sprawling cabin mansion, parking area full of SUVs, and the coolest looking four-wheelers my 13-year-old self had ever seen. Aunt tells me that the owners had come to say hi, the couple I saw earlier, and invited us over to hang with their nieces and nephews, as they were having a Memorial Day get-together just like us. Me, having zero thought besides awesome four-wheelers, almost ran to the house when my aunt caught me and rather forcefully reminded me of my dino cakes. I conceded and ran back inside, to an atmosphere so thick with tension that even my underdeveloped brain, thanks Dr. Mom, could detect it. The oldest of the adults were acting normal and playing around with us kids, but something was very off. I finally asked what the fuck was up, and my aunt bonked me in the head and asked if I had seen the massive cabin mansion last night, last year, the year before, We'd come to the cabin every few weeks until December. Did I see any construction? Well, no. But they invited us over and they have cool four-wheelers. Aunt Beth, come on. A resounding no from multiple family members made my emotional girl self almost flee and cry until my grampy, a 6'7" hulk of a man, got down to my level and explained that he felt there was something weird going on. He said the couple didn't act right. I assumed that meant they were rude and that we should just keep to ourselves this weekend. I agreed and we went about our day, all adults keeping us occupied with activities either inside or behind the cabin. We get ready for bed when I see my great-granddad, World War II vet, who had the only bedroom on the first floor, loading 3 shotguns, handing one off to my grampy and the other to my uncle, cool aunt's husband. To my shock and awe, my Grammy pulls out a bedazzled Glock from her purse. I go to bed with images of my little Grammy taking down a bunch of bad guys with her shiny pistol. I wake up the next day to the smell of pancakes and the sound of adults chatting downstairs. I'm sad because today is when we have to pack and leave, but things seem back to normal, so I'm very glad. I run downstairs, note the clock says 7:30, but ignore the weirdness and sit in front of my plate of dino cakes and dig in. While asking my aunt what time we have to leave. Leave? We don't leave until tomorrow. Well, what day is it? It's Saturday. We just got here last night. I noticed just a bit of doubt in my aunt's eyes that I know something is up. I run outside. The abandoned lot is back to its decrepit state. I resolve to brush it off and enjoy my ATV riding and forget about everything pretty quickly. It wasn't until I got back to school and was called to the main office where they asked why I wasn't at school on Monday. I told them that today was Monday. What the fuck are they talking about? Nope, it's Tuesday, and my absence was unexplained despite several calls. I skipped school frequently. To my parents, divorced, neither of which were at the cabin. So either my family played the trick of all tricks on me, or I'm living in an alternate universe where I can sleep into the afternoon. Like I said, no one will even remotely entertain a conversation about this incident. So I'm left telling my fellow Redditors about my family's conspiracy against me. Well, that's weird. Don't forget to like, comment, and sub, guys. Bye!